In this guide, I'm going to walk you through a freelancer's guide to how to use Git. Now, before I even get into the tutorial, I want to make a very quick clarification. A lot of people think that using Git means that you have to use GitHub. However, these two are not connected whatsoever in a business sense. GitHub simply is a place where you can push up your repositories and manage them remotely. If you do not want to use GitHub, there is also Bitbucket. Bitbucket's nice because it's free, and even for private repositories, it can be a good tool. I personally prefer GitHub, but that is a matter of preference. I recommend that you utilize both on freelance projects. I usually simply leave it up to the client on what they want to work with. So I'm going to start completely from scratch. I'm going to show you how to sign up for an account, how to manage your repository, everything like that. So if I come to GitHub right here, I'm going to say DevCamp Freelancer and type in a username, email address, and password. Click sign up for GitHub, and notice I'm in the incognito mode, and the reason for that is because I'm signed in regularly in my normal GitHub account with my in the regular Chrome session. I didn't really want to sign out. Okay, so here we have welcome to GitHub and all these kind of instructions. First, you can choose a plan, and the first one's unlimited public repositories. That's the one we're going to use. Now, what the difference between these is unlimited public means that everyone is going to be able to see your code, which is fine when you're learning or you want to work on open source projects. Usually, on the freelance side, you're going to want to go with this package where you can have paid private ones. This means that only you and whoever you want to give access to can have access to those repositories. And you can also start an organization. We're not going to do either one of those things, but I'm going to hit continue, and it'll ask you some questions. It really doesn't matter what you answer on these. It's simply for them. I'm going to, in fact, just click next step and click start a project. Now, first it says I have to verify my email address. I'm going to go into another browser, copy this link in Gmail, and I'm going to paste it in here. And there we go. We should be, I believe we should be verified. Yep. Okay, so when it comes to starting a new project, I'm going to wait on this side. We're going to get into this in a minute. First, I want to show you, now that you have an idea on how to work with GitHub in terms of creating an account, let's start working with Git locally, because that's really where the majority of the work occurs. So I have the Nitrous IDE open right here. And I chose Nitrous because I wanted to show you something that was completely separate from my own system since we're doing this from scratch. Now, Nitrous by itself does connect to my other GitHub repo, so I'll see how it works with connecting a secondary one, but it shouldn't be an issue. So right here, you can pretend that this is your local system, or if you use the Nitrous IDE, then you can have it look exactly like this. So I have a directory here called code. And if I change into the code directory by typing in cd code, I can create some files here. So I'm going to start off by just creating one that says my sample.rb. Now I do touch, which is a short code or a shortcut for creating this. And if I click on this file, I can come in here and say, this is some Ruby code. It doesn't matter what I'm putting in. I'm just going to say my hello world application. If I hit save, then this file's saved. Now, to create a repository locally, there's one command that you have to do, and it is git init. So if I type git init, it says initialized empty Git repository, and it tells me the path where the repository is. Now, if you run this on your local system and you get an error, it means that Git probably is not installed on your system. If that's the case, just type in install Git into Google, and it will give you all of the instructions that you need to know for installing Git. So you can use, if you're using Linux, you can use this way. On Mac, it actually gives you a full installer guide. So it'll give you everything you need to know on that side. So we have a Git repository installed in this directory. So what does that mean? What it means is that we now have a repository. You can think of it like a container that is going to watch over all of our files. So if I type in git status, what this is going to do is it says that we are on branch master, which means that we're on the main spot where we're going to be managing our live code. We also have the ability to create development branches, and then it would tell us we're on a different branch. It says we're on the initial commit, which means that we've never pushed anything else up before, and it also lists our untracked files. And you can see that the file I created, my sample.rb, is located right there. Now if I want to add these, I can type in git add -- all, and it doesn't seem like anything happened. But if I type git status now, you'll see that now this file's been changed to green, and it says changes to be committed. So what this is doing is it's essentially saying, okay, we see that you have added a new file and we're ready for you to commit it. A commit, if you remember back to the initial guide that I walked through in the written guide, a commit is essentially giving your repo a point in time. It's benchmarking a time where I'm saying, okay, this is a feature I worked on, or this is the work I performed on this code. So to add a commit message, you type git commit -m, because M for message, and then in quotation marks you can say my first commit. Now if I hit return, then it has committed it. It says that one file was changed, one was inserted, and we have a create mode for this file. Now I'm going to hit clear. Now if I hit get status, you'll see that it says on branch master, nothing to commit, working directory clean. So everything's good on that side. So now let's push this code up to the remote repository. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to switch back to GitHub, and I'm going to just say demo, and that's pretty much it. I could say something like demo for video, something like that. I want this to be a public type of repo. If this is for a client, you're probably going to want to make it private. And I do not want to initialize a repository with a README. This is something I like to do locally. So I'm going to hit create. And now I have all these different options. I can do a quick setup, but I don't really need to do that. I can create a new repository from the command line. And if you notice, look at these lines. So they created a file, they typed in git init, they added a readme, then they added a commit message, and then they added the origin and the remote, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we kind of already went through these steps. Now to get this, all I'm going to do is press copy, which is going to copy both of these commands to the clipboard. And now I'm going to switch back here and hit paste. So it ran the first one, which added a git remote, and now when I run this, it's going to push it up to the repository. So it's going to ask for my username. Oh, and that's actually my other username. Let me switch back really quick. I'm pretty sure I did DevCamp Freelancer. Yeah, so this is your username right here. I'm going to use that. And now it's asking for the password. So you type in your password, and now it is going to push the code up, and you can see it gives a success message and says a new branch master was created. It gives a URL right here, so this shows where it got pushed up to, and it said that the branch master is set up to track the remote branch. So everything worked there, which is good. Now if I switch back over here and come and hit refresh, you'll see that it doesn't have the configuration screen anymore. Now it has our file that we created. So this is pretty cool. This means that this remote repository now is tracking all of the work that we're doing. And if I click on commit, you can see that it shows my first commit. Now we're going to get into looking at differences here shortly, but this is all working perfectly right now. Now let me show you what happens, and I'm going to switch back to, there we go, going to switch back to nitrous. Now let's see what happens when something changed. So what if I change hello world to hey world, hit save. If I come back here and type in get status, you can see that now it shows that a change occurred. So this says that changes have not been staged for development, and it shows that this file was modified. Now, if I want to see how it was modified, I can type in git diff, D-I-F-F, and it will show me exactly what was changed. The red and the minus sign show that this is what got changed, and the plus sign says that this is what got updated. So this one essentially got removed, and this one got updated. Now, to quit out of that, just press the letter Q. And now, if I want to push this up, I can say git add -- all, git commit, and I'll say updated my sample file. Now I can type in git push. It's going to ask me for that username again, which is DevCamp Freelancer. Type in my password. And everything is now good to go. Type clear to come up to the top. And now if I switch back to here and just hit refresh, now you can see that right here it gives the new updated status where I said updated sample file. Now if I click on this, it shows the changed file. If I come back, it also shows that we have 2 commits. So if I click on this, you can see that both of these points in time have been logged. And the very cool thing is, let's pretend that we had a whole project. We can click on this code button and go look at the entire project at this point in time. So this is really neat, and it's very helpful. It may not seem like a huge deal when you only have a single file, but when you have an entire application, I can promise you this comes in very handy. So the other thing you can do is click on the name itself. So if I click on this commit message, it will show you exactly what got changed. So I can see in red what got removed, and in green what got added. And if I switch back to it, another neat thing is you can write commit messages that are more detailed. So if you want, say you're working with a team and you want to say that this change was required to ensure version functionality, something like that. You can hit commit this message, and you can even style this using markdown syntax. So I could do something like 2 hashes and say change request, put this in here, and then I could even put some code. So I could put some code in here, and you don't have to memorize markdown syntax. I'm just showing you kind of what some of the capabilities are. And I could say def my method, and puts something else. And now if I put comment on this commit, you can see that we gave our heading this cool markdown syntax, and then here it actually put our code inside of it, which is awesome. It gives us all the syntax highlighting and all that kind of thing. You can lock it, you can edit your notes, you can control every stage of the system. So if I go back here, it's going to take me back to the main page. Now, one of the other things I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back here, and I'm going to add a README file. So I'm going to say touch README, and it's important to spell it exactly like this in all caps, .md, and this is going to create a README file. Now, README is, by default, when you use the MD, is going to use the markdown syntax. So here I could say demo for video, and I'll use one hash. This is going to give us a big heading. And then if I want to do something like a link, I can say git devcamp tutorial, and then I can pass in a URL here. So I could say devcamp.com. And let's do one more. So let's do a quote and say, please contact us with any questions. Now if I hit save, run git status, you can see that we've added a new file that isn't tracked. So I'm going to say git add -- all, git commit -m, added a readme file. Now the cool thing with this, and this is something, let's see, do I still have it? Yes, I do. Now the cool thing with this is when this gets pushed up, when you put a readme at the root of your Git repository, you're going to see something really neat happen, which is right here. Hit refresh, and you can see that it gives you a full description, and it gives us a cool link, gives us the ability to add quotes. I recommend everyone getting familiar with how to use the markdown syntax, and you can do that by just typing in markdown tutorial. I believe well, yeah, you have markdowntutorial.com, and this will give you a full step-by-step guide on how you can write some awesome markup. It's definitely helpful because there's many times where you want to be able to style all your notes, your descriptions, everything like that. It'll make your repository look more professional. So that is how you can work with the standard items in Git. Now, one other thing I want to show you, because this is all great, but what happens if I want to work on a different feature? So we have all of our code here, but what if I want to work on something else? So let's say I want to do something like I want to work on authentication for the application, but I know that's going to take me a few days to build it out, so I don't want to commit everything into that master branch. I can do git checkout -b, and here I will say integrating _ authentication. Now it's going to say switched to a new branch called integration authentication, and you can even see right here that it shows Git and it shows the branch. We were on master, now we're on integration authentication. Now if I make some changes, so let's say I'll create a file here called authhelper.rb, and inside of this I'll just give a method, so sign in. Puts signing in, end it, hit save. Now if I type in git status, I can add this and commit it. So I'll do started integrating auth. Now if I type in git push here, it says everything up to date. So that's kind of confusing, right? Now if I come over here, you'll see nothing got changed. And if you click on branch, nothing gets shown over here. So that is something that you have to be aware of when you're working with branches, is the regular git push doesn't work. You have to do git push and then copy that name. And then you're going to say, you have to do git push, I forget, it's either remote or branch. Git push origin, that's right. Okay, now it's asking here, and it's saying that the username is incorrect, or username password is. So let me type the right one in. Oh, that's because I tried to use that. It's let me switch back really quick. Doesn't matter how many times you do this. You can still do something wrong. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now everything got pushed up. Now if you look down here, you can see where it says new branch, integration, authentication. Now if I come back to the repo, you can see that it added this without me even hitting refresh or anything. They have the ability to kind of watch for changes, and this got pushed up, and you can see if I click on it, this has a note that says this branch is one commit ahead of master. So this is really cool. This shows us how we can work on side projects. So this shows 4 commits, but if I click back on the regular repo, it's at 3 commits. So I can come back. Let's pretend that we finished the feature. So I could do sign in, and now I could do sign out, and it doesn't really matter. I don't have to put anything inside. Hit save. Now if I type in get status, you can see what got changed and what branch we're on. We can add this. We can add a commit, and we'll say finished auth. Now I can do git push origin and then paste in the name, integration authentication. This guy asked me for the username, which is going to be DevCamp Freelancer. It's not freelancers, is it? No, Freelancer. Password. And that all got pushed up. Now I'm going to talk about the last thing that we're going to discuss in this tutorial, which is how to merge and pull in branches. So say that this got all implemented. If I click compare and pull request, it's going to let me create a pull request, which means it's going to start the process of merging that one branch into the master branch. And so here I can say users now have rules associated with accounts. Hit create pull request, and now it says this branch has no conflicts. If there was an issue, it'd give a little red X, and you wouldn't be able to merge it. You'd have to go fix the conflicts. And what a conflict is say you're working on a team and 2 people are working on the same file. That's going to potentially create a conflict, and Git lets you know ahead of time that that's going to happen. But here, we don't have that, so I'm going to click confirm merge, and now this pull request has been successfully merged and closed. Usually when you do this, you want to delete the branch. You don't want to have a bunch of old branches hanging around. So I'm going to come back, and you can see now our master branch, which we're on, is all the way caught up. So this is good. But now if I come back, I'm still in this branch because it doesn't get deleted this remotely or locally. To switch back, I'm going to say git checkout master, and now we're back in the master file. Now our auth helper and those ones are there just because it's on the IDE, but if you look here, even if you come and hit refresh tree, you can see those files are no longer here. And if I type ls, you can see we only have these 2 files because we're on the master branch. Now how we get those files back is by saying git pull. Now if I do git pull, it's going to bring all of these files in. Now if I come hit refresh tree up here, you can see that it brought in the new auth helper. And this is how you can match up and make sure that your local branch is connected and is kept live with the remote GitHub repository. So I hope that this has been a helpful introduction and has given you all of the key things that you need to start using Git and GitHub and version control during your development and your freelance projects.